wait a minute or two for a couple people, see people showing up, and we'll get
Are you
going.
guys are you guys expecting another hurricane down through there? I've been seeing potential.
Um, I went on and looked at the radar map today, and it looks like there is a storm coming out of the west on the like it looks like it's headed towards like New Orleans, Louisiana, but like our skies, west of us, it was clear this morning, but the east of us it was or no, the west of us it was stormy looking. East of us it was clear. So it's coming this way. I just don't know if it's what it's classified as right now. So
Oh, so you don't know
hoping,
if it's a tropical storm or just a rainstorm or
yeah, I hope it just doesn't because I got a lot of stuff I got to do outside this weekend.
I just think about if it took that track up to North Carolina again, that would be devastating on an even larger scale.
Don't even bring that up. That
Yeah,
I was reading
fortunately,
about all that this morning and that lit me up. I was just like, you gotta be kidding. Anyways, this is not a political show. This is a technical
well,
analysis
I
show.
didn't I didn't know a hurricane was political. I thought that was geographical or
Well, it is, but
geological.
it's what's related to it, I think is what bugs me.
Well, that's part of the economy.
It is. It is.
And
Could be a
wait till I dig into this jobs report for you because that's what I did this morning. I'm like, I get so tired of listening to CNBC and all the talking heads, and you look at the headlines and the ball. It's been jobs are out of the park, blah blah blah. They're out of the, and they don't even go into the headline other than the headline.
I
Okay,
was I was reading through it this morning and just looking for, you know, part-time jobs are increasing. Oh, people want full-time jobs, but they're not available. Huh.
same as it
Why don't
ever
they talk
was.
about that?
Yeah,
Huh?
same as it ever was.
Yeah.
And I think I even told you, or it was David yesterday, we were talking that they were going to do revisions up this year, this month. Somebody in the Department of Labor Statistics said, boss went in and said, we're not doing these revisions down. We're going to revise them up.
And they
And
did.
they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think
Right
I
on
talked to you
time.
and I think I talked to you yesterday and I said, the markets are going to skyrocket on that if that happens. I said, and then they're going to come down and 50, 70, 30 chance that we're going to close below. We'll see.
I'll be
We'll see.
interested to see how the day ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will
So
see.
yeah, it's one of those things. It all relates. At some point, they cross roads.
They do. Yeah.
And it's just a matter of being in the right place,
Yep.
right positioning, for sure.
Scott has the biggest dog I've ever seen in my life sitting behind him. Oh, he's got his mute on. Yeah, like I said, I had a German Shepherd, but it was had a dark snout, but everything else was that white,
Yeah,
color. And he lived 21 years. He was a good dog, man. He went with me everywhere.
yeah,
We could tell you miss him.
I know it's well, I mean, that dog had been with me longer continuously than probably anyone in my life because, you know, you move
yeah.
out, go to college when you're 20. So there's 20. So, but he was 21. So, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say that dog saved your life.
he probably did because he kept me mellow. You know,
Dogs
yeah.
keep you in the now. The
yeah,
dogs are keep you
yeah. You could have the
grounded.
worst day. You got the worst day ever and come home and that dog just don't care. He's just like,
Yeah.
hey, how's it going?
Life's good.
I'm
Right.
Let's
like,
go.
yep, let's
Last
go. Give me the
time,
ball. Let's go play ball.
Yeah.
Yep. Here, first feed me first. Yeah, yeah.
his brand is called a King Shepherd. I don't know if you've
Okay.
ever heard of that. I'd never heard of that, but they're a large breed of
Yeah,
shepherds.
yeah. They look big.
Mm.
Mine was called an Aleutian, which
I'd
was
never heard of that till you said
yeah.
that.
it looks like a golden retriever, the whole dog, except for his nose and the tips of his ears are dark like yours, but didn't have the black throughout, his body.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was. Well,
Do you
let's
have a
get
dog?
going.
Do you have a
Go
dog
ahead.
now?
Do I know? Because if I had one and it lived 21 years, he'd outlive me. Then who's going to take care of it? So
Be
no, I'm
fine.
done. Jan's got 12 cats running around the farm here. That's enough
Oh,
for me.
sure.
So
Yeah.
hey, you need cats on a farm, otherwise you're full of rats and mice and moles and other crap that you don't want. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Nah.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
I am not much a morning person yet. The morning, the stocks that you show us or so, can it be viewed, videoed, or if I miss it the morning, I won't know.
You mean so on the charts of interest
No,
or
no. At the I thought that early mornings, not every morning, about 9 o'clock, I see that a sign come, and unfortunately, I can't attend to go and join you all in the
Oh,
yeah.
in the platinum live room.
Yes, yes. So that's what I was wondering. Can I catch those to know what
There's
you suggested or what you did a bit later or another
there,
day or so?
usually there's people in there quite a bit, and not just in the morning. Paul usually says I'm going in there in the morning, and he goes over what he does. But if you get there in the afternoon, David is always kind of in there all the time. And when I see people pop in there, I try to pop in there too for a while.
it's
So it's not recorded.
Okay, but
it's
the
not
stuff you
it's
suggest, do you email or text to everyone on that list or not?
No,
it's more
normally,
of it's an impromptu gathering place.
Okay,
So it's not, there's nothing scheduled as of, right now. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday who we ended up spending some time on the phone, just going through a couple of different things related to the Platinum channel and all that. So in the future, we may do something where we do a scheduled
yeah, I am talking to
Discord
them.
kind of thing, and we tackle a subject or something like that. But
this was
the Discord live right now is just more of a impromptu. People show up typically in the morning, have just talk about what's going on, that kind of thing. But we don't record that at this point.
Okay,
But
okay, I just wanted to know. Thank you.
yeah, I
yeah,
don't think you can record it that I've seen, but anyway.
yeah,
So I'm gonna get going. There's a lot of stuff going on this week, and then we'll get to charts and whatever you guys want to talk about. So the big thing, well, the second biggest thing, it was the biggest thing until Thursday, but the East Coast, the Gulf Coast ports reopened later Thursday and this morning. They reached a tentative deal, a temporary settlement of the biggest work stoppage in nearly half a century. So I think they agreed to 62% wage increase in 90 days, kind of a cooling off period. So it's kind of like Taft-Hartley. And my understanding is if by January 15th, they don't have anything agreed on, they're going to lose their 62% wage. They're going to go back on strike and they're going to start this all over again. So from a standpoint of the economy, that's going to help the economy. I don't know. They were talking on the news that every day they were out, it'd take 5 days to get back into it. So that would give us, we'd be 15 days behind right now, but we'll see how it works. But that certainly was kind of a surprise, especially the way that the president of the union and his son were talking like they were going to tear down the world, and it didn't matter what you did. So anyway, that's good news. So the other thing that came out, and it's all over the news this morning, is a stellar and outstanding non-farm payroll report came out. The economy added 254,000 jobs in September, well above the forecast of 140,000. Meanwhile, payroll figures for July were revised up 55K from 89K to 144K, and changes for August were revised up by 17,000 from 142 to 159. With those revisions, employment in July and August combined 72,000 higher than previously reported. Okay. So what's going on here? What the hell is going on here? reports matter, and the Fed makes policy decisions from data in these reports. So with this report, you think back, did the Fed even need to cut rates? Because they cut rates in September. This is September's data. Okay. They were all worried about August data, where everything was revised down. Now it's revised up. How do you miss it by so much? And how do we plan as a Fed to deal with this? So, we have to just ask, did they need to cut rates in September, let alone 50 basis points? Because that was the big thing. And unemployment's now at 4.1% instead of 4.3. And the upside surprise suggests that the labor market may actually be a picture of strength, not weakness. Okay, and it's completely dismisses the idea that the Fed could even contemplate a 50 basis point cut in November because everything's back to rosiness now. Okay, according to Steve Leisman, which I had to watch him just so I know what he said, but he gives me a headache and makes me want to go out and pound my head on a rock. So
Tell us how you really feel, Mark.
Yeah, I went and looked at the report because I want to see where are these job gains. So employment in the food service and drinking places, okay, bars and restaurants, rose by about 70,000 in September, well above the average monthly gain of 14,000 over the past 12 months. So I'm looking at this going, well, those are really high paying jobs and probably full time with benefits and everything. No, they're not. Okay. People, the way I look at it is people who are being, thrown out of their small jobs or their jobs have to go get another job because if you look at the data, the number of people with 2 jobs or more rose again this month. So I'm thinking the people who've been laid off are going to get jobs in the food and service industry. It's not like it's, peak tourist season anywhere. And I know I went and watched a Nebraska volleyball game at a sports bar that's pretty close to where their university plays, and they played away. But a year ago, that place was packed on an away game. Okay. Last night we got there, 2 of the 3 rooms were closed, and the main room we were in was only half full. Okay. And that's total. And I just look at that and go, and they had a lot of people to help you because there was no one in there. So again, food service. So there's, they don't talk about this on CNBC or even go past the headline number. Okay, what's next? Healthcare added 45,000 jobs in September, below the average monthly gain of 57,000 over the prior 12 months. Okay, so we're down, but it added jobs. Over the month, employment rose in home healthcare services, hospitals, nursing homes, and residential care facilities. So that tells me there's a lot of people aging, okay? And so we got to take care of those people. And that's just our demographics. Now, did those people add to the economy? Do they produce goods and services? Well, there is a service, okay, but they're not out there producing nuts and bolts like Bob, for manufacturing and growing the economy, basically. And then what's third? Yes, government. Employment in government continued its upward trend in September, up 31,000. Government had an average monthly gain of 45,000 over the prior 12 months. Over the month, employment continued to trend up in local government, up 16,000, and state government, up 13,000. So a lot of this money coming out is going into government jobs, okay? And I don't know that government jobs actually produce anything that helps the GDP or the economy myself, okay? You guys can differ on that, but it's not like a manufacturing job or technology job or anything like that because they're based on taxes. They get their revenue from taxes, not from free market trade move of goods and services. So the third one was employment, or the fourth one was employment and social assistance increased by 27,000 in September. Primary and individual and family services over the prior 12 months, social assistance added an average of 21,000 jobs per month. Okay, so more people are needing assistance, including the new surge of our guest immigrants that are in the country now. So that's been going up. So the top 4 or 5 are not really in manufacturing. They're not in anything that really is helping the economy, in my opinion. I guess there is one thing: construction. Construction trended up a little bit, up 25,000. compared to 19,000 month over month. And this is non-residential specialty trade contractors that added the most. And so it's not like housing or anything like that, more specialty stuff. So if you look this week, we had a report that came out for construction spending. Construction spending in the United States fell by 0.1% month over month, following a revised 0.5% decrease and missing forecast of a 0.1% rise. This marks the third consecutive decline in construction spending. So again, this is specialty contractors that went up. It's not regular construction workers. So we'll see what happens there. So really, employment showed little change over the month in other major industries: mining, quarrying, gas and oil, manufacturing, wholesale trade, retail trade, transportation and warehousing, information, financial activities, professional business services, and other services. So to me, that's where really the high-paying jobs are. Okay, but we're not excelling there. So I look at that and I think, what does this tell us? Well, it tells us we might be having more jobs, but we're having more part-time jobs. We're having jobs that are not as high paying, okay, and jobs that are not helping for really the gross domestic product of the country. So if you look at other reports that we had this week, the initial jobless claims came out. The number of people claiming unemployment benefits in the U.S. rose by 6,000 from the previous week, surpassing the market expectation, and it marks a new 3-week high. Okay, so jobless claims are going up. U.S. job cuts were reported this week. U.S. employers announced 72,821 job cuts in September, slightly down from 75,891, but 53% higher than a year earlier. So where are these job cuts coming from? The low-paying jobs like technology announced the most job cuts, followed by healthcare, even though healthcare is supposedly hiring. So it could be a different part of healthcare. I don't know. Entertainment and leisure. And considering Q3, companies announced plans to cut 174,000 jobs, down 16% from Q2, but up 19% from Q3 in 2023. So for the year, companies have announced 609,000 job cuts, up 0.8% from 604,000 the same period last year. ADP came out, okay, and this was a higher number. Private employers added 143,000 jobs in September, surpassing the forecast of 124,000, and that's from ADP. This is a positive rebound after 5 months of slowdown in hiring, providing a hopeful sign of the U.S. labor market as jobs growth expands across several key sectors. Despite the stronger job growth, wage increases have cooled. The ADP report indicated that the year-over-year pay growth for job stayers dropped to 4.7%. Those are people who stay. Okay, while job changers, remember when people are leaving their jobs, during the pandemic and after, because they could get so much more money because everyone was looking for employees, they fell from 7.3% to 6.6%. So this suggests that while employers are adding more jobs, they're not increasing wages as aggressively because the supply of people out there with jobs, the supply is higher for people looking for jobs, so they don't have to go out and pay as much. So anyway.
So which number do you believe?
Well, I think I don't know, Bob. When I dig into it, I see that if I believe this number from the
I don't
9-hour
believe the
payroll
number that came out today.
Yeah, I mean, if I believe that number, then it's all low-paying, restaurant jobs and government jobs, basically.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Lower income jobs.
But I think looking at it, Bob, I don't know how they missed so much and revised left and right. And how do you, if you were running a business, which you are, and you had a report that was key to your decision making month to month about your metrics, and it was revised by hundreds of thousands either way, you couldn't run your business, could you?
That's right. Because you can't project what's going to happen, what's going on.
Yeah, it's garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, it's bullshit. That's the bottom line. What amazes me is everybody's running with it. The ADP is a real number or close to it because everybody calls their numbers into ADP. The only cutoff there is all the other ones that do take numbers, right? So they're missing that part. But I don't know. I'm shocked. That was shocking to me.
I kind of predicted it yesterday when I was talking in the Platinum chat room, and just because, it's hard for me to believe at all, especially when you look at We just had a port shut down for 3 days. And, let's not forget Boeing. So 33,000 Boeing workers are in their third week of strikes. It'll be fourth week. Okay, next week after negotiations between the union and aerospace giant collapsed over the weekend. So on Twitter, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers wrote in a post that late Friday that zero progress has been made on a new labor contract with Boeing. So what did Boeing do today? Because Boeing has to save money, they're furloughing their management and cutting costs. Boeing cut the healthcare coverage for its 33,000 of its workers and their families yesterday as the machinist unions strike continued. So they took away their healthcare coverage. So we'll see. We talked about that. When Boeing goes down, the 11,000 suppliers are eventually going to go down, and all the people that work for them too across the country. And like I said, when I worked in the aerospace industry right out of college for a huge contractor, one of the top three, and when we saw, and they sent me back to the Midwest, I was in San Diego, and I'd go to these shops that 75% of their business was with us. Okay. And they were in little towns where, they employed maybe 100 people. And if we went on strike or had a problem with production or a contract got canceled and they were on it, that's 75 people are probably going to go away, just on average. If it's 75%, I'm not, it's not apples to apples there, but it's a huge part. And these are little towns all across America and all across the world that these supplier bases come from. And, talking about manufacturing, I'll go over these numbers and then I'm going to turn over to Bob for a second. So the ISM manufacturing PMI came out this week, and it was at 47.2, which is contraction. And it's the same as in August and slightly before the forecast of 47.5. The reading continued to point to a contraction in the manufacturing sector, which now extended for 6 straight months. The U.S. manufacturing PMI came out, which S&P Global. It was revised higher to 47.3 in September from a preliminary 47, still in contraction, but remained the lowest since June of 2023. It marked the third consecutive month of contraction, with both output and new orders falling sharply due to weakened demand and political uncertainty. I don't believe that political uncertainty is weakened demand. Employment dropped at the fastest pace since 2010. So there's employment's out. Input cost inflation softened but remained high. So inflation's still there, and firms raised prices at the fastest pace since April. So you don't think we're not going to see inflation come back? Just look at manufacturing. U.S. factory orders. New orders for U.S. manufactured goods eased 0.2% from the previous month in August, trimming down downwardly revised 4.9% jump in the previous month, and missing forecasts have remained unchanged. Texas manufacturing. Federal Reserve Bank of Texas general business activity index for manufacturing in Texas edged higher to -9 in September from -9.7. So there you go, still negative. Chicago business barometer, also known as the Chicago PMI, edged up to 46.6 from 46.1, still in contraction in August compared to a forecast of 46.2. Still, the barometer has remained contractionary territory for 24 of the past 25 months. Bob, what are you seeing? Anything good out there?
Sorry. No, nothing's changed. Now we're coming into our slowest season of the year, because most companies are holding on to their profits and just trying now at this point, coast through the rest of the year to the new year. So we're on another fall in sales one more time, which it's expected, but nothing's improving at this point. So I'll be the first to tell you when things are turning, because as well as we're the first to know when the economy is heading down, we're also the first to know when the economy is going to start heading up, because people start building things again. And I don't know if you heard, the mortgage rates jumped today on that news, which, I don't understand that too.
10-year treasury went up, so that's where the mortgage rates come from.
Yeah, I understand that, but we all have to understand our economy our biggest growth for one of the biggest growths, I shouldn't say the government's the biggest growth, but is housing. It touches everything, right?
Yep.
Everything you do, it touches. But I don't know. I mean, we're not going to go anywhere as far as I'm concerned until after the election, when everybody knows what's going to happen, who's going to be president. I think everybody is being cautious. The other thing that I found interesting this week is a lot of the baby boomers are moving their 401ks and converting them to Roths. And paying the taxes now because they're concerned about how high taxes are going to go up and how much they're going to be taxed on those Roth IRA, on their 401ks. So they're just going to claim it this year and pay it down, pay the taxes. This way it's tax-free going forward. There's a lot of that going on. But
I think that's a pattern every 4 years.
Is that
Every
right?
election series. When I was a financial advisor, every 4 years prior to the election, there was always a rush for Roth conversions, um, because of just what you said. So it makes a lot of sense that we're seeing that movement today in that, especially with what they're proposing if Harris or the Democrats get
Oh,
in
God.
office.
Yeah, it's going to be
Freaking
painful,
ridiculous.
like for us business people. It's going to be painful. They
Yeah.
want to go to 27%, that's going to be a killer.
Yeah.
That's gonna be passed on to customers though.
Yeah, onto the ports. As I told you, what the story was all about, it's about the automation. Even though they got a 63, I think it's 63% increase. They all went out partying last night. But that's over 6 years. But the big issue is the automation. I don't know if any of you guys seen the automation in the LA port, but you can Google that or go to YouTube. It's really interesting how they automated the port in LA, and that's what they're worried about. Which it's going to happen, but that's going to be the next fight. So that fight is not over. They just
No.
postponed it until January, as you said, Mark.
Yeah, it's
I,
just,
I
the strike is suspended. It's not done.
That's right.
Yeah.
I went to
It's all
lunch with a
about the
friend of mine.
automation. It's also about retirement. They want more money to go into the retirement. I don't know if I told you guys, but the owner of the ports and everything, these boating companies, Merzak, took $4 billion bonus last year. That's
Mhm.
4 billion, crazy number.
Yeah.
I had lunch yesterday with a friend of mine. He's for a company that provides services for trucking logistics. And he pointed out, he pointed out that with the automation and, artificial intelligence, a lot of times what they see is you put that in place, and what it does is it creates efficiencies, but also higher level of production. He also pointed out, he says, you also have to hire sort of a different set of group of people to manage because now you're doing more business.
It does
And he
create
says, so
it does create more jobs.
what's that?
It does create more jobs in certain parts of the
Exactly.
industry, but
And
it
and I think
also gets rid of a lot of jobs that are very manual.
right. Well, I think that's the thing, is the bigger problem, is he and I were discussing, is that these guys are fighting for jobs that have a certain educate or knowledge level.
Right.
And as we automate, we upgrade that knowledge level,
Yeah.
and you go from, let's assume it, let's label it as tier one level education level. You automate that out. Now you got tier two is the next human being stage. Tier three is the next one. The fear is a lot of these people, if you got 45,000 dock workers, that maybe half of them will not be needed if you eliminate tier one through automation. And I think that's really any industry. I was talking to my CPA about that, and he's trying to figure out how to automate or introduce AI more into his basic level services so that he can basically create efficiencies, save cost as well. And I think that's any industry that we're talking about. Anything that is just entry level could be automated or through technology. And I assume every industry right now is going through a panic of that,
Well, I think-
or those
We're all
people
trying to
are at
save
that
money.
level.
We're all trying to save
Mhm.
money. We're trying to be more efficient in what we do.
Sure, it's about
And what brought this
profitability.
on? COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, automobile industry, which is hurting right now. They've automated. They have robots, and people. You need people to maintain those robots. You need people to program those robots. You need engineers to take the specs and make sure. Actually need people to oversee the robots because the tooling wears out. You got to change the tooling. It's not eliminating everything. There's got to be some human. I got a friend who owns a huge metal forming company, and he's got robots all over, but he has people. When he lays off people, it's because his orders go down, not because of robots.
Yeah.
And none of that, Trent, is those robots on the docks, they work 24/7 and they don't call out.
Right. Right. It was interesting. He and I were talking. He was at a customer's location. I think he's out in Wisconsin or something. And he said they were talking with the CEO of the company. It's a big freight company. He said, yeah, we went out last month and we took a tour of one of these autonomous driving trucking services. And he said, if everything goes right, we'll be ordering autonomous driven trucks in 2027, as long as they're approved on the road. And he pointed out, he says, that eliminates the need for hotels. That eliminates the need for gas stations with the elaborate shower systems and ancillary things. They just become
Pilot.
docking stations. Yeah, and he goes, it's happening because these guys are looking at the cost of having a human being behind the wheel, and it'll increase profitability. But it's like Marco was saying, if they go on strike, well, it affects the guys, the diner across the street. It affects this, and this. And I think that's the same thing with all automation is you're going to affect, there is a domino effect. I think my biggest thing is why are we not educating in our school systems for this in the future? Why are we not educating to where the puck is going, not to where it was? And I think that's the biggest one of the bigger
Yeah.
hiccups that'll hold us back in the
Well,
future.
that puck moves because like I've heard that when software programming was big, everybody had to learn. I'm trying to forget the right word. Where they need people that can program or do the language.
Coda.
But that was short lived. So they were like, oh, let's teach everybody in schools how to program because it's going to be so common. And then, they reach as many as they can, but it's short lived. The pocket fills. So to get ahead of it from a school, huh?
My first computer science program in college back in the early '80s, they handed us a bunch of punch cards. That's what we were learning. Okay,
Yeah.
there were no computers. There were no personal computers.
Now you're showing
we
rage.
had to go punch up. We had to do programs by punching cards.
I know about those.
That's how old I am.
I know that's old. I remember when I came in, they were doing that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base, Bob. First of all, how's your health? Because I know you had some issues, man.
Yeah, I still do. I'm going in for surgery on Tuesday, actually. It'll be, it's hopefully I go home the same day, but typically you do. I have what they call, I had AFib, I have a flutter now. I had AFib 5 years ago before COVID, and I had an ablation done, and it was good. Then one morning I woke up and my heart was running 150 beats a minute, and they diagnosed me with a flutter. And I said, well, I got to get to my surgeon.
That's a flutter with what they put in there already, or something that to do with your heart, already? It's,
But what they do is they go in and do an ablation. What they do is they go in through your groin up to your heart, and they enter your heart. They have this sophisticated equipment. Back then, it took 4 hours to do.
Mm.
Now it takes about an hour. And then they go up into the heart, and then they burn certain sections because the electrodes is what you know sets the heart off. So when you have AFib, it's your heart does this normally.
Yeah.
AFib, it does this. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's unorganized. A flutter is an organized, but it runs faster. The top of the heart runs faster than the lower part of the heart.
Mm.
So end
Yeah.
result is of this problem is that your blood starts to pool in the heart, and then it starts to clot, and then you can end up with a stroke. And a lot of people have this, but they don't know it. What tells me is my watch. I have one of those Apple Watch,
Nice.
and that's what flagged me. I got out of bed one morning, my heart went to 147. I was like, what the hell's going on? But anyway, I appreciate you asking, but I'm
Nah,
getting it rectified by one of the best electrosurgeons that does this stuff. That's all he does. He sees
Yeah, you
patients once a week, and he does this all week long.
and it sounds like that's all he does, and you probably
That's
sleep a
it.
little better knowing that he's been down this road before.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
my original, and he's phenomenal. Most people, if you don't get the right guy, you can do it again and again and again, and it does
Or
not
fuck
done
you up,
right.
or it'll
Yeah,
mess you up.
yeah, I'm
Um,
not worried about this guy. He knows what he's doing. But thank you, I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
The other question is, yeah, we'll see. So it's Tuesday next week? Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
This Tuesday coming up.
We'll expect you on Friday.
I can't wait. Be very honest
Yeah.
with you. I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah, you want to get it over with.
I just want to get it done with
Yeah, I hear you.
because originally the first time I waited too long, and
You
because of,
procrastinated.
and then after I did it, I said, "What the hell was I thinking?"
Yeah.
Now I'm running. I'm like,
I want to get her done.
sooner?
No, that's only natural, and you have more trust, so you want to get her done because you're going in there with a guy who's been around the block, and you can
That's
say
right.
he knows what he's doing. He's going to fix this.
Yeah.
Are you doing it in Florida, or are you going to do it up in New Jersey?
In New York, Mount Sinai.
You haven't
Okay.
done it in Florida?
Oh, yeah.
Come on,
Yeah, this is
Florida. Don't fool around. Go in New York.
You got to go to the best.
Yeah.
Good.
What sector do you send your fasteners to specifically? So like when I could give some perspective, when you say things are slowing down, you can say, okay, I sell fasteners to this
Like
sector.
Fastenal.
Well,
So-
Fastenal is everything,
So-
yeah.
So I ship worldwide, and I ship to many different sectors. Manufacturing is down big time. Obviously, seeing the ISM at 47, it's really low. So things are not being built, right? You need nuts, bolts, and washers for all the things that you're going to be building.
Is it for consumer products though, or for
No, it's industrial in most part.
industrial?
Consumer
Okay.
products is dead. Okay, so people building, chairs, lounge chairs, backyard furniture is all dead. I mean, dead.
Yeah.
So I will tell you where there's a little life. There's life in aerospace. Tesla, they buy from us. Boeing buys from us. Airbus buys from us. In that industry, there's life, but it's not, it's not overwhelming, right? It's okay. And that's because of government money, right? But every other sector that we can put our finger on, it's dead. We do have a few outliers that are doing very well. And I don't know why, I can't figure it out, but that's their business and they're not going to tell me. So anything attached to government, if it wasn't for government, I would be in bigger trouble today.
So Bob, and you can see that in the GDP, because 25% of GDP is now government spending. So how about Boeing? Have they contacted you and said anything about, okay, slow down or don't send orders or anything like that? with this
Well,
strike going on?
their orders have slowed down. So that we have some, even warehousing, just so you guys know, warehousing has slowed down because we provide anchors that fasten the racks and everything to the grounds. So that has slowed down in a substantial way too. Um, it's across the board, so it's pretty even out there. There is there's like a big gaping hole, and we're starting to see people crumble in the industry, and that's the sad part. That it's taking people down that just don't know how to run a business through this.
You mean you have some customers that are essentially saying we're done, we close shop? We're not
Yeah,
gonna be back.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
So when's the last time you saw this, Bob?
You know when?
I
This
know, I just wanted you to,
started in
wanted you to say
2000.
it.
So it started in 2006 and carried through to 2010 before we
Yeah.
start to see some type of turnaround. The same thing is happening out there. The question is, when is the morning we wake up and the stock market is down
1,000
2,000 points?
Yeah,
You know? That's the question. And when you wake up to that, you better have those stop losses.
yeah. And what's the trigger on that? That's the other question, But there's always a trigger somewhere. And we'll see.
And then everybody talks about the upside. Don't want to miss the upside. Yeah, you can be in, but you better have the stop loss, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of, learning about technicals and stop losses and, to prevent that from happening. You might get a little bit of a loss, but you won't get the big flush, what that really devastates people's lives and their retirements and everything. So that's the beauty of what we try to do here on the Platinum Channel. So
The problem is a lot of people talk about it, but they don't take the action.
that is true. That is true.
And they think it's not going to happen. I have a friend that's just like this. He's kooky, He does some stupid things, and I sit there, we talk about it at night, and I look at him like, the market's going in it's going up. What are you doing with puts? It's just like
Yeah.
you start saying, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it's almost like he bets against himself. But I don't know.
He's his own contrarian.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah. So
He's so
that's
smart. He's
unusual.
dangerous to himself.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are that way. Well, I mean, you look at what's happening. I mean, just in the auto industry. I mean, Stellantis. Okay, last quarter, Stellantis shipped only 305,000 vehicles, a big drop from last year's figures. Jeep sales are down 6% to 144,000 units, marking an 8% decline for the year. Ram, their pickup truck plummeted 19%. Pickups for Ford are, no matter what happens to Ford, pickups are always their best seller. Okay, they plummeted 19% within year-to-date sales, dropping 24% to just 309,000 units. You look at what's going on at BMW and Mercedes and Volkswagen over in Germany, because of the Chinese with their cars and their situation over there. Ford and GM, same here. Stellantis, they're talking about, those people are talking about going on strike because of the lack of leadership at Stellantis. That's according to them. You look at consumer products. Nike this week came out with their earnings, and their stock went down. They reported weaker than expected Q1 revenue, withdrew its full year sales guidance. Okay, Nike's that's the shoe that every kid has 12 pairs of them and spends more money than I spend on my electric bill.
I think that's an opportunity, Mark.
Okay.
It's a household name. I think that guy coming back in, Elliott, I think it's Elliott. I think it's an opportunity, but really the place to buy Nike was at 72. That was the real win. My wife, I told her to buy it, and she's been winning on that because once it was at 78. Same thing with FedEx. When FedEx hit down, I don't know, 150s or I forget what it was. That was the time to buy FedEx. It's going to come back. It's just a matter of timing, but not for swing trading, but for a long buy. Yeah.
I think it's going to take time. If I'm a new guy going into Nike right now with the downturn in the economy, it's going to be just more of a headwind for that. It's not like you're going in, because their shoes are expensive. So you got to have some cash to be a Nike.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
agree with you there, but the guy that they're putting in that seat was there for 30 years.
Yep, yep.
Who is
Yeah, I
that?
agree with
Is
that.
that
I think that's the plus.
For a longer term, yep.
Yeah.
Well,
But
then you
one
look
thing I
at,
wouldn't want to say,
go ahead.
you're talking about cars. Does anybody here own a Tesla?
Nope. I know
no.
my niece does.
Have you been in one?
Yeah, it's like I tell her it's like being in a toaster.
Yes, I have a Tesla.
You do, right?
Oh, there's
Sorry,
David.
Okay.
I'm eating right now, so that's why I had the
There's
camera
David.
on.
I mean, I own the Cybertruck and I just got the the FDS or whatever it is. I just got it this week and I was testing it. It's amazing. Beyond BMW and all the rest of them, there's no comparison. I think that that's going to be a big win-win for Tesla. Sorry, I want to get off topic, but you were on cars, and I just wanted to throw that
Yeah,
out
no problem.
You're
I don't
saying,
think
what's
I'm
gonna
going to
be a
see
win?
too many cyber trucks out here in the fields of
there.
Nebraska picking up grain, though.
Oh, self-driving.
The self-driving autopilot cars is going to be a big win. You can lend your car out to Tesla, and he'll use it as, like an Uber, and you'll get money for it.
Um,
That's one of the examples of what's going to be coming and what he's doing. It's really amazing how well it handles everything. It even changes lanes by itself. You don't even tell it. But if you wanted to, you just turn on the blinker and it just goes.
I'm
Yeah.
sure the technology is awesome. It's just that it's been in a narrative so long. I feel like it's kind of tired.
I
You
would
know.
say he's
Yeah.
really close.
Yeah. But what's
guess-
stopping them is the government, right? And the insurance companies. Would you say or is it technology? What's
No,
the
I
barrier?
think it's technology, the development of the technology. And I would say, it's really, David could probably also throw in a few cents. If you guys are not, I would take opportunity to buy Tesla. I think it's, I see the big picture. When you own
Let
one,
me
you
ask,
see the
let me,
picture.
let me ask you
You
a
mean
question.
the stock?
Let me ask you, let me ask you a question about self-driving cars and trucks. We brought that up. So I'm driving alongside a Tesla or self-driving truck, and it comes over into my lane and kills me or maims me. What insurance company is how are they going to insure that, and who's responsible for that accident?
You are.
Why am I? I'm not driving. I'm in my lane, and it came into my lane.
You're
and
in the
smashed
car,
me.
you have your driver's license. You're still going to be responsible for that.
No.
If your car is lent out, I get where you're going with this. I don't know what that answer is.
There's no
I
way
guess,
that
I guess that's something for the insurance companies to come out, and they're probably going to come out with some exclusion from your contract that if you're not in the car driving it, we're not insuring it.
I'm just no. I'm saying that I'm the one that's in the car that self-driving one hits. Okay, who am I going to go after? Tesla? Am I going to go after who?
No, you will go after the insurance company of the Tesla owner. So right now, car insurance is going to operate the same way it always has, whether there was someone behind the wheel or not. Now, once Musk, and this is one of the things that is going to really make Tesla valuable, is once Musk gives the technology to General Motors and Ford, and they start putting the self-driving technology into ICE vehicles, and everybody has the self-driving, you won't have accidents anymore. And that will totally change
Exactly.
the insurance industry. So the FSD has gotten so good that when I back out of my driveway, I put in my destination on the computer. All I gotta do is hit a button and tell them, take me to Lowe's. Car drives to Lowe's. I don't touch the wheel. I don't touch the gas. I don't touch anything. It wasn't that way 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I might have to correct it. I might, no, you're getting the wrong lane. Nope, you're doing this or doing that. Now it's perfect. So it's gotten a lot better. It's gonna have to get even better in order to get the government to sign off. But once the government signs off on it, look out. That stock could go from 300 to 700 in a couple weeks because there's so much at stake here with Uber and everybody else that we are 6 months to a year away from total autonomous. You don't even need a driver.
I would agree with David. It's really close. I have found when you go through construction areas, it disengages, at least on my truck at this time. You go through those tricky areas, it automatically disengages.
Right.
But if you're just driving on a known road that is 95 or whatever, it just goes. And
The biggest problem that I have with FSD is not FSD. The biggest problem I have is Google.
Google
Because
Maps.
the car is following the Google map.
Yeah.
The Google map is wrong. The speed limits on the Google map are wrong. So if you come in, let's say you're on the highway and the highway opens up a new section. So it was 35 and now it's 75 and everybody's doing 75, but Google still has 35 on their frickin' map. Your Tesla will slow down real fast when it hits that thing. And that's the danger. So I find that of all the corrections I make on my FSD, 75% is caused by Google. It's not the software. So Google's got to up their game. They're the ones that are messing up. But anyways, the neat thing about it, what I find really exciting about this conversation is that Musk is trying to take his technology into the real world. There's a lot of other people that are just talking a good game. Musk is putting it into actual usage. And I think some of these stocks that we're really excited about are really going to take off once their usage comes into play.
Well, it's going to be, it'll be interesting. I'll trade it as a swing trader with using my charts, but as an investor, I'll look at different ways to do
I'm still
that
trying.
too.
I'm still trying to get you to buy Q.
Well, I should have bought it because it actually went into a swing trade mode here the last few days. So
Did you see what it did today?
went over $1. So you're
Yes.
you're
Yep.
halfway home, baby. You're halfway
I'm
home.
up. I'm up another 30% today.
If you don't know what we're talking about, jump on the Platinum live channel sometime. We'll talk to you about it. It's one of David's favorites. So I'm going to go on and talk about. We talked about Nike. Levi Strauss came out with their earnings and reported weaker than expected Q3 revenue, and they lowered their full year guidance too. So that's a Gene company. Berkshire Hathaway sold additional common shares of Bank of America in 3 transactions this week. So he continues to get rid of Bank of America. And then for the last thing I just want to talk about is a couple of things. One is the hurricane. Okay, and something that happened in the hurricane was interesting to me because it has to do with the semiconductor industry. And I saw this story that fears are growing of a serious disruption to the global semiconductor industry after Hurricane Helene knocked out a facility that provides a critical ingredient for the manufacture of the silicon wafers that are turned into chips inside all the world's computers. Sky News has been told that Sibelco, the world's biggest provider of high purity quartz, has sent force majeure notices to its customers, freeing it from future liability if it cannot fulfill orders after the dramatic flood shut down its facility in North Carolina. The majority of the world's ultra high purity quartz is mined in Spruce Pine, a remote town in North Carolina. This quartz is used to make the crucibles in which polysilicon is melted before formed into the pristine silicon wafers that semiconductor companies such as Intel and TSMC turn into computer chips. The town and surrounding areas have suffered catastrophic flooding with roads and rails cut off following Hurricane Helene last week. So that I didn't see anyone see that in the news anywhere.
No.
It's amazing that one company can be the key to your entire success. And I remember when I worked for Compact Computer, if we had a major failure, computers weren't working, 9 times out of 10, it would come back to some little Phillips capacitor or something that was, a 2 cent part, that failed and it could shut everything down. So anyway, I felt that was interesting that this little company in North Carolina is so close to the chip. So we'll see if that ever anything comes of that. And the last thing that we got to worry about, especially over weekends and thing, is geopolitical. Iran attacked Israel. Israel's going to attack them back, I guess. And so the energy prices have gone up. So if you're in energy, you've probably made some money this week. Just be careful over the weekend. Energy, can go down as fast as it goes up. It's so tied to the news and the political events of the world. So be careful. But again, the impacts of energy going up also impacts the inflation rate that we might pay in the future and see in future reports. So with that, we got through it all. We talked about a lot of stuff today, which is really cool. So does anyone have anything else on the macro that you want to talk about before we go look at a chart or two? Anything?
I would just want to I ordered my Cyberlink mobile satellite because I'm going to be in Texas for most of the month of October, out in the middle of nowhere. And it got me, I was started looking at what Cyberlink does and how Elon has built this thing out. And it really got me to thinking about how innovative this guy is. And I haven't really, I know who Elon is, PayPal history, all the stuff he's done, but more and more of what he is getting involved in, I think is a leading indicator to where, in a way, the world is headed. And it has brought up that, okay, I mean, what his SpaceX went up to go get the astronauts that are stuck in the up at
Space station.
that's station, and that was a Boeing gig, right?
Yeah.
That was a Boeing, yeah. And so more and more, I'm looking at what Elon is talking about, what he's looking at, and I think it's a good long-term indicator of one of the long-term indicators of where things are going. And yeah, it's just interesting. Had to sort of, as I'm driving back from Columbus, Georgia the other day, just like, wow, so much of this is changing so rapidly. Where are the industries that are going to be drastically affected in the bigger picture? But also what will be delayed, as we're seeing in North Carolina. They were trying to get Starlink into those people in Asheville because they don't have internet connection. And what was it? Not the FDA. What's the organization?
Federal Communications.
Yeah,
FCC.
blocked him. And they have a $42 billion budget to get rural areas wired in with fiber optic, and none of it has happened yet. It's showing the bureaucracy between government and innovation, and I think we're going to that will be a continual hindrance to what we'll see with autonomous vehicles, autonomous trucking systems, automation, and that kind of thing. And unless things get aggressive and change, we could see a point where things start to stall, in a sense. So
What
from
stocks
a
are tied
macro,
to Starlinks?
what's that?
Are there any stocks that are tied to Starlinks?
That's private company still. I
Okay.
mean, it's all Elon. And I think my sister-in-law has it. She says it's wicked fast. It's easy to set up. I'm getting the one that's mobile so I can travel with it and set it up when I need it. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll see how it works. But I think it's just one of those innovation things that's moving fast.
Do you buy that or do you rent it or how does that work?
So the router, the satellite modem, all that was $299. And then the monthly subscription, since I'm getting the mobile, it's unlimited, down, up, up draft, down draft, whatever they call that. And that's 165 a month, but it's month to month. So when I'm not using it, I'll pause it and won't be charged for it.
Huh.
Whereas my internet here at the house is 120, and at Ginger Studio, it's a business line, it's 250, and it's slow as molasses.
I imagine
So,
a lot of preppers will be buying that system.
well, here's the limitation of it. Depending on your area, you can or cannot get it because of the approval of of availability of satellite. And so
Uh-huh.
my area where I'm at, there's enough capacity presently, but in some areas, like for instance, New Orleans, my brother-in-law has it in Lafayette, Louisiana. His house in New Orleans, he can't get it because they don't have capacity or licenses and enough license or capacity for it. It's really weird. So you have to double check if you have availability in your area for it. But
I
it's
think
really being controlled by our government.
my buddy has it at his house, so I'm pretty sure we have it here then.
Yeah.
We must. So,
Money.
Yeah.
That's what's controlling it, money. Everybody wants a piece.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the fiber optics industry is like, you're not putting us out of business.
Well, yeah, they've been digging up our backyards for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I
So,
know. They're digging up
all
my
right.
side roads here. Getting some charts.
Yeah, let's just look at the general market. Oh,
Hold on.
I got a
Okay.
share.
Can I ask a question on
You
that?
absolutely can.
So that Starlink, um, how fast is it? Do you know actually how fast it is? Is it going to do a number on the cable companies? In other words, cutting the cord with the cable companies?
So my brother-in-law has it in Lafayette, Louisiana, and he said it's the fastest thing he's ever had. Like, what do they call it? T1 lines they used to talk about. It's it's up there with that.
Really?
Yeah. My sister-in-law who has it, because where she's located, her office is in her house versus where her router is, it's running at about 80% capacity, but as she said, it's faster than anything I've ever owned. The one issue or challenge is at times is weather. And then a clear shot of your satellite or your unit to the satellite in the sky. So, and it'll tell you if there's an obstruction or something like that. So
I
it's pretty
have
cool.
I have satellite internet where I'm at,
Do you?
and the company that I go through, they set up a big dish on top of all the grain towers in these little towns, and so my dish points towards a grain tower, and it
Oh,
comes down and then it shoots it out to all the little satellites, and
gotcha.
I haven't had, I had more issue when I had dish than I ever have now, even during the storms. You know,
Yeah.
the TV may go out. We have like YouTube TV, but my internet usually stays on for some reason. So mine,
Yeah.
and out here is a lot faster than, the hardwired, because we're at the end of the road, for that. But yeah, I've
Right.
been happy with satellite.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's not
I'm
Starlink,
curious to
but it's
see how that
satellite.
works.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a look. Just with the markets, sometimes you got to back up a little bit and just recalculate on what you see in markets. Like here's the S&P 500, and really we've been going sideways along my green line of death that some people don't like, but I do. And you can see what happened. It caught up with the 9-day moving average, and still we're just right along the green line of death and right at the 9. We're looking at the MACD and the stochastic are down still. Even today we're up, half a point. That's on the SPY. So the market's really not going one way or the other. So we got to wait and see which way it's going to break out. We really need some kind of a catalyst to bump us above this 9 and make it stay there, because you can trade around the 9 around the green line of death for quite a while. And if you look at the Qs, same thing. it kind of popped up to the Bollinger Band and came back down, and we look exactly almost like, we even have the MACD coming down, trying to do a little bit of a crossover. Hasn't happened yet, but we have had it in the stochastic. You look at the Dow, same thing. And you can even see how tight where the sell order resistance level is. They're just bouncing between that until something happens again. MACD's down. We got the stochastic down on that, and even the small caps. Okay, these are the guys that are supposed to be, benefiting from lower interest rates, and even that, we had a bump up today probably because of the jobs report. It's come back down to below the 9 still, but the oscillators don't look any better. But there are pockets out there. Let's look at energy. So here's energy because of the war. You can see what happened at the XLE. This is when the bombing started, and you can see it climbing up pretty good. We got a green line of death up here, but it's still moving. So if you go within the XLE, like I've been watching that this week. If you like trading under the 200, Occidental Petroleum, it's under the 200, right up to where the sell limit is. It started at, it was just going sideways also. Then, like I said, you have something that moves it to get it moving. And that was this, bombing of Iran, of Iraq, or of Israel. And that caused it to move. So, within that, Schlumberger, I think, did pretty well. There's Schlumberger. You just can see, what was happening in oil. So there's the opportunity. It's under the 200. So, be aware of that. But the oscillators look good. So there's hope in the energy sector. If we look at communications, where Meta is, we come up and kind of hit the green line of death. And we're starting to do that. We used to always see the 9 come up and it kind of slides along and then starts hitting back down. You're seeing the MACD roll down. You see the histogram here. That's the first sector. If we look at XLY, which is consumer discretionary, same thing. And you can see it comes up, and then I see this pattern all the time. It goes up to the 9. It can bounce back and forth between that and the resistance level where the sell levels are, and then you see it pop down. You can see the oscillators are telling that same thing there. So this week, for me and my trading plan, I'm looking at these and looking within these indices or in these sectors, and there's just the setups for my trading plan are not what I like. So I'll stay out, and just get into a few things like we did. Again, here's the financial services, same thing. We've been sideways on this, just no real movement and where you want to go. Today we had a little pop up, probably because interest rates. Okay. XLV. Healthcare came up, hit the green line of death, did kind of the sideways thing, then started sliding. You can see, back here, we're looking at decline of the MACD, decline of the stochastic. XLI, this is probably up today a little bit. Industrials, yep. And I see this a lot too. It'll come up, hit the green line of death, and then come up and just play whack-a-mole with the sell order resistance level. And then if it can't get past there by something making it go, we see it come back the way we're seeing the others. And this is what leads me to believe that's going to happen going down to the oscillators. So that's the industrials. Utilities have been doing really good. And then they came up and they hit the green line of death. And I'm starting to see what's happening. It's the oscillators are now bending down a bit. So I'm anticipating, unless something can motivate this price action to get across there, you will see the same kind of motion. That's the inference I get from looking at that chart. XLB materials. Same thing, kind of came up, popped above, looks like the Q's almost, and came back down, or actually it looks like, Q's a bit, came back down. Again, we got oscillators looking down. These are just the 11 sectors of the S&P. Real estate. See if there's anything in real estate. Real estate did the same thing. Green line of death, hung around for a while, had the 9 comes up and goes parallel, and then off we go. So real estate, and then technology. XLK. So again, it's come back up to the 9. Kind of played whack-a-mole a little bit with the sell orders. We're back up to 9 again. Seeing a little bit of a sideways pattern on the MACD. So a little bit of a crossover on the stochastic. We'll see. Again, it's just tough to get across that line. Okay, and I have 50, 100 examples of this just from this week in stocks, and I put some of them on the Discord this week. And I'm just going to do semiconductors. Okay, semiconductors went up and did a big bounce over the green line of death, and it can go up there again. Came to the sell order resistance level twice, came back down. We're still right at that green line of death again. And you know, even though the MACD is above, we're getting a little bit of a crossover. We'll see what happens with semiconductors. But you know, when you talk semiconductors, you know, we talk NVIDIA. So there's NVIDIA, and it's again just kind of hanging around its green line of death, just right above it. You know, not much, you know, for action. Look at that candlestick is basically just, you know, a hammer, not doing much, just hanging out. We've got Bollinger Bands that are converging and going sideways, and until that pattern changes, you're seeing a little bit on the MACD, but nothing too major. A little bit on the stochastic. It's still just hanging in there. And you would think that the jobs report would move this a little more, but I think now they're worried about basically that the Fed is not going to, you know, lower by 50 basis points because, you know, of the jobs report and inflation and all that. Why would you need to lower if the economy's good? Is kind of what they're going to think about. Let's look at.
Shout out to Esther. She made some money on AMD.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a little different than same sector as NVIDIA, but I don't know why AMD did it.
And
Hey
here's
guys,
AMD.
I got a split. So
Hey,
All right, Bob.
luck,
Hey,
Bob.
Bob.
Hey,
Good luck
Bob.
next week.
thank
Good
you. I
luck.
appreciate
Yep.
it. I'll
right.
see you when I get back.
All right.
If I don't
Sounds
show
good.
up, something went wrong.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, make sure that doesn't happen.
I don't expect anything to happen except for everything getting fixed. Thanks.
All right.
Sounds good.
See you, Bob. Yep, AMD is kind of doing the same thing. That came up today, and it's playing whack-a-mole with this, you know, the upper or the resistance level where sell orders are. Again, a little bit of a cross here, but we'll see. You know, if you can get above that and something and maintain it, then this line will change. But a lot of times we see this and then we see it come down. So good for Esther. We always
Yeah,
want to
she's
make money.
Hey, Mark, real
Yeah.
quick before you change this. So I had a conversation with a gentleman who's part of the Platinum Channel. He asked me to explain candlesticks to him and how to interpret them. Could you just sort of touch on the basics of what a candlestick is, so that for anybody who doesn't really understand how to look at these things?
Well, candlestick is, let's just take this one here. Okay, this is the price action for a day. If you're on a monthly chart, it'd be the monthly price action. Where you see a green candlestick, that means that this price action the day closed up. So what it means is it opened up here and it closed here. So that's why it's solid. But price actually did go up, and it wicked up on the top side to just about, well, to the Bollinger Band. But it didn't stay there, and it came back down. Okay. And on the bottom side, where it opened up, it actually price went below where it opened up for a little bit and came back. So this is where you open, this is where you close. Okay, now on a red day, let's do this one here because it's kind of big. On a red day, you opened right here and you closed down here, and there was not much of a wick. You don't see a little bit of a wick on the bottom, but this one looked like it opened up and went straight down, you know, and never did come back up. This one here is a doji. This is a kind of a candle of indecision. Kind of went up, got beat back down, went down, got beat back up, and just kind of ended where it started. Okay. So that's just the show of price action, basically.
when you start to link,
there's a bunch of patterns I'm not going to get into about,
Sure.
where they are next to each other and all that at this point. But there's a lot, you can go out and you can find a lot of information on if you just want to do candlesticks and what candlesticks mean,
Mhm. Yeah,
Your
no, that's
presentations
good.
in the your website is excellent and
Yeah, I
explains
think
it
Trent,
very
you did
well.
one.
Oh, on candlesticks?
Yeah, you did one.
Yeah. Well, and I, and we're gonna add more and more education on this kind of stuff because it, candlesticks originated back way back when. This is how they used to measure rice trading in Japan. So this is how they track the price of rice prices way back when. And so it really is insightful because when you look at it, when you start to link number of days together, a number of periods together, it can tell you what the market in a way is thinking or doing. You can see accumulation, you can see where they're selling off, and then pivot points and that kind of thing. It's really a fascinating way of interpreting. And couple that with the other things that Mark uses, it can give you really deep insight to what behavior of the market.
Absolutely. Paul just put out on the Discord about CBRE and the rest of the real estate market. And again, CBRE came up here, played right along the green line of resistance. And again, for me, this is the best indicator I have of when to get out. Unless something happens outside of unknown market condition that Tesla has been approved for, self-driving cars by the U.S. government, then you would see this blow right through there. But if you don't have that, you're going to see this kind of pattern. I would say 90% of the time. So if you're buying in up here, the probability of you making money or lots of money, probably not that good because your risk is high and your reward is low. Okay. And that's what we're starting to see. And again, we got oscillators that are confirming this. When we looked at Scott and I know, well, and even Paul.
Well, if you went long with CBRE, you'd be fine. If you went long.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. I know we're talking swing trading. I'd have to go look at my long-term analysis, but on a swing trade, I want to be out.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, yeah,
For sure.
yeah. So long term is a wholly different bucket of bolts than what I'm looking at right here. So try not to. We've talked about this before. I think if you have an investment account, okay, I think you should have an investment account, and your mind trade is that, and your investment trading plan is this. And I think you need, if you're going to do swing trading, you need an account that you concentrate on swing trading in, unless you're really good at separating that out in your head. Because if you talk about long term here, and I'm looking at this chart, I'm telling you, well, you're crazy on a swing trade. But if I'm looking at something more long term, and let's go back, let's do a monthly chart, CBRE. Oh, that's not CBRE.
I hate when that happens.
No, stupid program. All right, now I got to do 5 years. Okay, so if you were using the same kind of criteria, which I don't use on a monthly chart, I mean, you would have gotten in right here, probably. Let's just say $50.40. And if you use just my trading plan on a monthly chart, you would have got out here. $91.52, so 41 bucks. Okay, over this was on October 30th, 2020. And this was March 31st, 2022. So you're in it. That's a long-term more investment. And it can come down. You can see the MACD cross. You can see we had a stochastic went down. I mean, and then you went into a period of consolidation and sideways patterns. Okay. So if you, when I don't like to trade in these, especially in a long term, because you're in, you're in, you're out, And so here you got, full candle close basically above. And you would have gotten in here, like Paul was talking about. You would be at 93.09, and you'd still be in this right now, and you'd be at 121.11 on the long term. And you'd use the same. You come down. Here's your MACD, positive. Here's your stochastic embedded. Here's your RSI, looking good. So you can do it on a month. But if you buy on a monthly chart, let's say you said buy here, then you want to make sure that trade, when you evaluate it and sell, is on a monthly chart. Because the monthly chart, let's go to a weekly chart, is different than the weekly chart. Okay. And it's different than the daily chart. And all these lines move. Okay. So just be careful, but you can do that. You can go back and be more long-term, but have that long-term thought process. Now, me, I don't use the same indices and setups for my long-term that these have here. I use these indices and these setups for my swing trades. So
Do you do monthly?
do I do monthly?
Yeah.
You can do monthly. That's a
No, I
long-term
mean,
trade.
but do you yourself do it, or you go mostly weekly or daily?
I do a kind of a hybrid that I've been developing for a long time. So, if I were you, I mean, we had a discussion. We had a discussion this week. Okay, let's just stay on the daily.
Okay.
And we had a discussion this week with Margaret. I'm going to go back 2 years, if it'll let me. So basically, we talked about Paul Tudor Jones. And Paul Tudor Jones got out of the great financial crisis by long-term investing off this 200 SMA line, and this is on the daily. So Paul would have gotten in here, 75.56, and he would have stayed in it until he got down here and pretty much crossed here, and he would have been out at 79.75. Okay. He would miss all this because it's under. He might have popped back in here a little bit. Got, I don't know, I can't read it that well. Let's just say he popped in here again, and he's at 78.46, and he doesn't get out again until never. He's still in. So if he was using this as a long-term trade, and you're not excited about having to be in the market, or watch the market every day, and you can look at it on a daily, or you could do this monthly, you could do this weekly. On this one, you got in, let's say this is November 15th of 2023, so almost a year ago, and you got in at 79. Where are we? I'm gonna do right here. 78 bucks. You got in almost a year ago, and it never did come down. It came down and touched it, didn't cross it, and now you went from 77 bucks, and see what's happening. You're still on the green line of death. You're up here, you're at 122. So 79 to 122, that's pretty good, and you had to trade twice, since here. And now, I'd look at this even as an investor, and I would say, would I want to get out here or take a part of that off just because of this? And I would say to myself, because I'm looking down here, I'm seeing these oscillators turn with this line here. I would say I'm going to take half of that off, because even if it comes back down, it's going to have to go through what's on the 20 now. It has to hit the 50, and it's going to have to hit the 200. So this could be a long road down. And maybe I want to swing trade it again, on a swing trade, but then again, here I am mixing swing trades with long term, but that's just the way I look at it. When it hits this line, I get out, and that's just me. But you can see how long that was, and you didn't have to worry about it every day. I mean, you look at it every day, but you don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
So if we did, let's look at month or monthly. Where's my, I don't even have it on there. I have to do it. Yeah, it's not even showing me the 200 all the way down there. So daily, basically.
You go to weekly.
Yeah, I could do weekly. There we go, weekly. So weekly is a little different. Okay. You did come down, you hit. There was one below it. You might have got out there, but then you come right back in. And then so you're going to be on a weekly, you're going to be in and out a little more than you will be well, on monthly for sure, but again, weekly, but you're out. These are all weeks now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, then you're back in, and then you're out, you know. But you know, you're only trading, I mean, 7 weeks is over half a year. Okay. So it's more of an investment style. And now if you would have gotten in, you know, using that system, we would have gotten in right, let's say here, 79.01, and we're still in because we didn't cross that 200. So that's kind of how, you know, Paul Tudor Jones did it, you know, and it's, I don't know why. I mean, if you would use this, as this was the only thing you used, okay, I'm Joe Schmo, and I work for Winnebago Campers, okay, and I've been there for 40 years, and I have 401k, and in my 401k, it's mostly in the S&P 500. If you would use this one method, you would miss out on all the downturns, okay, over your 40 years, basically. And you could have moved that over into your money market and say, I'm going to hold here and then get back in. And it's one rule, okay? And Paul Tudor Jones used it. You know, saved him from the financial crisis. Would have saved a lot of people from the financial crisis. You can go look internet, you know, they have, some people have done some videos on the, you know, the 200 line, but you know, that's just one strategy that's really easy. And the rule is if it goes above it, you buy, if it goes below it, you sell.
Yeah.
So
And
I
I
mean,
think
that's, go ahead.
I think one thing to think about is sometimes you'll have, if you use a weekly chart, you'll have a week where it dips below that average, whatever SMA you're using or time frame you're using. Having confirmation that that is going actually exiting is something to also incorporate. So if it's below your let's say I'm running like a 33 weeks SMA. And if it closed below the 33 week SMA on that 1 week, I'd wait for a second week for a second close to confirm that this is now a continued downtrend. Versus you could have a pop back up above this 33 week SMA and it was just a week event. That way you're not in and out going, oh shoot, now I'm back in, oh, I'm back out, you know, kind of thing. You want a confirmation kind of thing.
So that's Trent's system. Trent has a system different than mine, and it's different than Paul's and different than David's, because everyone's an individual and everyone has their own thought process and their risk tolerance on what they trade. So when you see what I'm doing, I'm very highly risk adverse. So like this week, you'll see me, I think paper trade portfolio had 2 positions in it. Okay. It's just, I'm looking at a sideways trading pattern. I'm going to wait for it to go one way or the other. Paul, he's using more of a momentum method. He finds 52-week high flyers, he calls it, and he follows the Bollinger Band up until it stops and it starts going sideways. That's his style. Trent uses different moving averages than I do, and it's all fine. This is all fine. I mean, this is not about trading exactly like me, because I don't want that. This is about learning it and doing your own way. That makes sense to you. And now we all can kid each other about our, you know, our indicators and our results and all that. And we do, but it's whatever works for you. And the nice thing about this is you can go into the Platinum Live. And David's there, Paul's there, Trent's there, Scott's there, and Esther's there, and you know, whoever else runs in there, and you can bounce it off people. And you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to do it. You know, you do what you want to do. But there's so many ideas in that Platinum Live that, I mean, it's one of the coolest things we have on this channel, you know, and we have really good people in there, and everyone's opinion matters, and everyone thinks it out, and I'm happy every time someone makes money. Like today, Esther made 2% on ADM, and that is awesome. You know, especially in the markets we're in, you know, this week.
Yeah.
And Paul's made some good trades this week, and that's awesome too. So, you know, that's what we're all about, you know. And
I think
we're gonna
Mark,
Go ahead.
I think it's important to really do a self-evaluation of what is your personality. You know, Paul is obvious and David's obvious. They're more of a day, you know, swing trader, intraday trader. Um, I found myself a couple months ago sitting in the kitchen, making my coffee, going, asking the question, what is my attention span to this? What am I really better at? And that's where I came up with a weekly approach. And then took my knowledge over 25 years and said, okay, what works for me? Um, I would love to be an incredible swing trader, but I know my personality and the other things I have going on in my life sort of take precedent. So I've adapted to more of, I look at things from a weekly standpoint. I look at the bigger macro elements that affect markets. And so I think it's really discovering who you are, but also if you're a long-term investor and you have a long-term portfolio, you have to apply a long-term mentality to it versus in if you have a swing trading portfolio or a intraday trading portfolio, they're separate, they're split personalities and you gotta obey by them. You can't commingle them because you get yourself in some trouble.
Yeah.
So
And that's why if you have trouble doing that, I just say, open an account, put whatever you want in there for your investments and the other one for swing trading, and think of them differently. These are my rules for swing trading. These are my rules for investment. I'm looking at my investment account. That's how I'm going to think about it. Like Berkshire. I know that Paul's been in this and Scott and I like to swing trade Berkshire. We had a nice swing here on the daily. Came up, came back down. Came up, tried to entice us back in. I went down. I said, well, I'm not going to have any confirmation on the MACD. I'm going to wait for that. And to this day, we haven't got it, even though it's gone above my 9, below my 9. And here we are. We're still not there. Now we've got Bollingers that are just, so tight in here. Until this breaks out one way or the other, I'm not doing anything with it. But if I start to see this breaking up and I get confirmation, good confirmation on the MACD and the other oscillators, then this will be a nice swing trade again, I think. But I'm waiting for it. We've been waiting a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 trading days. Okay, so that's well over a month, basically. We've been waiting on this one. And that's another thing, we talk about all the time. Sometimes you just have a favorite stock. And this is like one of mine I love. I own it. I've owned it since the beginning and I like to swing trade it. Paul's the same way too. I know, Paul, you talk about, I know that stock. I really like it. So, I'm not so worried about it, when I'm swing trading. And that's the same thing with me for Berkshire, and that's just another thing that, as I say, once you get your system down, you start to have a feel for the market, and not only the feel for the market and how it trades, but you'll get a feel for your favorite stocks and how they trade too. David has the same thing. David watches stocks, says, this one's going to go up, and because he's been watching it long enough.
it's really a study of behavior. When you start to spend a lot of time looking at charts from all different time perspectives, you start to recognize behavior in a company or in a stock. And over time, you start to recognize setups, you recognize, where a directional, like in Berkshire, I mean, Mark's been trading Berkshire probably forever, before Berkshire actually became public. But, in looking at that chart, it looks like it's a time of indecision or accumulation. So what's going to push it higher? What would be the, elements or the variables that would push? I mean, it's been going sideways basically for 20 days or so. There's a lot, looking at it, to me, I look at that and I go, there's a accumulation phase probably going on, and something is coming that somebody knows something about that's going to push this stock higher at some point.
Well, it's
And
coiling. They call it coiling. It's like it gets tighter and tighter.
yeah,
And at some point, you got you got your 50 here, you got your 20 and your 9 right together, and your Bollinger Band's tight. So this thing is wound up.
yeah,
Which way is it going to go? Good question.
yeah.
And that's when you can start getting into, if you want to start drawing lines and trends and and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just gonna do this.
I would add a few other things, just if I may. I've learned so much on charts, and I thank Mark and Trent for teaching me. But what I've come to realize is also the market conditions will influence the charts, obviously. So I'm going to add the charts. I'm going to add the market conditions. What's the narrative? What's CNBC? What's Wall Street Journal? What's people on Facebook or that type of media? What's the narrative around the stock? And then I'm going to add also the fundamentals of the stock. What's the growth story? What's it trading as? Is it trading at a high multiple? You know, what exactly do they do to be successful in that sector? So charts are awesome. We can look at charts because that will be part of, I'll say, my trading plan. But what I'll add to that chart is I'll add market conditions, I'll add the fundamentals, and I'll add the narrative. Because to me, those four things are what drive the stock up and down.
To build on that, at the 3 o'clock call, where most likely Kerry is going to talk about something that has to do with the fundamentals of a company, and what he has learned and he believes he's starting to notice is some of the fundamental growth aspects of a company before they actually start to break out. So that'll be an interesting call. So it's sort of, like you said, Paul, we all have our different ways of looking at this. It's finding what fits you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Kerry has a list of stocks, and they could have a great growth story, but if they don't work good with the charts and the price action is not above the 200, or it's not, the market for whatever reason's not rolling with it, you don't want to, you want to think twice. And then also you got to think, what are people saying on the news about this?
I
You know,
think,
what
I
is
think,
it? Yeah.
I think what Kerry's done, and I understand what you're saying, Paul, but what Kerry's done is he's made a model that takes into account a bunch of the fundamentals, basically. And a lot of people don't use the charts. A lot of people are just, most of them are fundamental traders. You know, I see this company, I don't care what this price is. I see the growth projection. I've been watching revenues go up, 5% or 10% a year. I know, like a drug company, they're in phase 5 of this and they're going to pass. So the majority of people trade that way, retail people, or they just trade by seat of the pants. Oh, look, it's on sale, I'm going to buy it. The technicals are just icing on the cake for me, and I don't even look at fundamentals anymore. I just don't, because for me, it cuts right to the chart, and the chart tells me what to do. It tells me when to get in, when to get out. And the only thing that will screw me up, Paul, once in a while, is the unknown market condition. Like some news comes out, like you're talking about, either good or bad, either dumps the stock or makes it go up. If it makes it go up and I'm in it, good for me. If it makes it go down, I better have a stop on, which is why we have stops. And so it's the best of both worlds. But I understand what you're doing, because you have stocks that you want to be in, okay? And so you do what you do, and that's fine.
I'm out if the price action's going down, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I'll let one control.
You didn't used
That's
to be
king.
that way, though, did you?
I'm changing every day. My trading plan this week's a bit different than it was. I'm constantly tweaking.
We call that evolving.
Yeah. And I like to involve as a group, and I like to use the group as a confession area to say, hey, this is not working. This is not working.
I appreciate what you do on there, because you're always joyful, and I always give you a bunch of crap, and you're still joyful.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It's okay. I think it's good. I just think there's more to the charts. Are the bottom line, the documentation of what the other things are doing, the market conditions, the narrative, and the fundamentals. Bottom line is a chart. If the market doesn't like it, it could have those other things.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, we just looked at the 200-day moving average, and how if you use that one simple thing, it'll probably increase your ability to have more money at the end of your life, as opposed to losing it and drawing down for 13 months.
It's interesting when you go study some of these famous investors like Paul Tudor Jones or David Temper, who was recently on CNBC, Ray Dalio. He's a macro trader. He's not necessarily looking at charts. He's looking at charts on macro economics, and he's applying these really same principles as swing trading and what Mark has been teaching to more of the economics of the global world. And so, for instance, David Temper recently came out and said we're buying into China, and the reason is because the economics indicate that the government is all hell bent on propping up their economy. So they're gonna, push money out. They'll let you even borrow money to invest in their stock market. And he's like, that's just math, and it's similar to that. So you can apply all of this. Really, it's not just to a stock price, but you can also apply it just to the fundamentals, like rate of change of earnings rate. Mark and I were talking about Nvidia and their revenue over the last 3 months. Their revenue,
Three quarters, three quarters.
3 quarters, yeah, 3 quarters. Their revenue has declined pretty substantially, especially from first quarter to second quarter. It went from, I think, 265% increase to 122% increase. It's still a stellar growth number. But what you're seeing is if you applied a chart to that, you would see a decline in their revenue overall. And I think that's the beauty about all this is it doesn't just have to be applied to a stock price. It can be applied to everything. I apply it to my relationship with my wife. I know when shit's
You
gonna
chart
hit
your
the fan.
wife? Your
To
wife,
my
is she
relationship with
above
my
or below
wife.
is she above or below the
Is
200
she
today?
is she just broke the 9 week SMA? Oh boy. Let's hopefully get a bounce off the 50 here or the 20.
Okay,
But
we're
when we
talking
go
about,
into the 200, it's a
oh my
long road
God.
back.
Oh my God, I've created a monster here. Oh my God.
Oh,
Too
all
much
right.
information,
Well,
Trent. Too much information, Trent.
but it's true. You can apply it to anything.
Yep.
Anyhow, well,
Yeah.
anything anybody wants to touch on? We
I
I
really
just
enjoyed
close.
wanna, I just wanna quickly add to what you all said. I was in, still I may be in, uh, forecasting business of different kind, more of the urban development and things. So I know theoretically these things, and the trend analysis that in the charting we are doing is really you are ignoring all other major factors which may or may not affect. The true modeling, though, would be looking at all major variables that affecting the up and down of the things, which are what you are calling it fundamentals. But then there would be several factors there. And looking at one by one normally won't help you. You got to have those major ones all in one bundle. And so because it's so difficult and also not having data, running the models and having that, then the chart or the trend analysis is time-wise is substituting for all those. So in a sense, I think that Paul is right that we need to look at both of them, but the other one we are looking at intuitively rather than necessarily looking at all the measures. But you should never get obsessed with one fundamental variable moving suddenly, because there are others, even though they may be smaller at the moment, tomorrow they may be harder than the others. So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
thought that
That's a
might
good
and
be.
point, Art. That's a good point.
Mark, Kerry and I had a pretty in-depth discussion about something he learned recently. He'll most likely share it on the 3 o'clock call, but it has to do with a behavioral change in the fundamentals prior to a stock actually starting to see a breakout. And it's very interesting because usually we would look at it at that at this fundamental analysis that he's talking about, and I'll let him take the stage on that. But typically we'd see it as negative, but historically it's actually a positive. And I think that's where if you diversify out your analysis beyond just one thing, you can see a bigger picture. And really that's what we're trying to do, you know. at the end of the day, we're trying to put the probability in our favor.
Yeah.
So we have
As
to,
much
we
as,
have
as
to look
much
at
as
the,
you can, yeah, as much as you can,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I appreciate, that was a good comment, I appreciate that.
Sure.
That's-
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'll be on the 3 o'clock for a little while, and Trent will be there for sure, and Kerry. And I want thank everyone for coming. It's always fun for me, and I know Trent appreciates it too. And
Yeah.
we just, when we talk offline, we're just like, what a great group of people we have, and very knowledgeable and willing to contribute. And it's just been a lot of fun. It's been getting funner every week too. Can I say funner? I
Exactly.
just did. I'm going
I
to.
think
We know what
so.
you mean.
This is not
Yeah.
the Grammar Child channel, so
Yeah,
you're all
it's
good.
totally, well, good. I'm on the right place then.
I live in the part of the country where we butcher the English language really well,
Where's
Y'all
that at?
come on down.
Where's that at?
Southeast.
Oh, okay. But you're
The
not,
South.
you're not hit by all the stuff going on, are you?
Well, I am
What's
in
that?
Southwest, so not that unfamiliar.
Oh,
Hopefully you're out of the hurricane way down there.
There's no general questions on how to invest here, is there? I know there's 12 people in here I'm looking at. They're very quiet.
yeah.
I see Eric, Renee, Larry, Leon. There's Scott.
Esther,
Art.
Esther was here for a while.
Okay, and the Riverboat Gambler left. He had to do
He
some
did. He probably had to eat some more. His wife
Yeah.
feeds him quite a bit.
All
Because
right,
it
guys,
hasn't been
we'll
a
see
good
you at
week.
3. Have a
Yeah,
good weekend
yeah.
if we don't see you this afternoon.
All right,
Yep.
guys.
We'll
Be
see you
good.
All right,
guys.
take
Thanks.
care.
Yep,
Bye.
bye.